You know who I'm talking about, right? They're on your friends list, they'll watch your stories, maybe even throw you a like now and then, but their own social media feed, it's a complete ghost town. No new selfies, no updates on their life, no vacation pics. In a world that seems to be screaming for constant visibility, they just remain unseen. So let's get into the psychology behind this, because it's absolutely fascinating. So, what is really going on here? Why would anyone choose to stay quiet when it feels like the whole world is shouting for attention online? It's a question that really gets to the heart of our modern digital lives. And believe me, the answer is way more empowering than you might think. Okay, so first things first, we've got to tackle the big misunderstandings head on. There's this huge gap, right, between what we assume about these quiet people online and the actual psychological reality of who they are. And this is where we totally flip the script. You might see their silence, and your brain immediately goes to shy, insecure, maybe even antisocial. But the truth? The psychological reality points to something completely different. What we might see as being withdrawn is actually wisdom. What we call antisocial, that's really just being smart, energetically discerning. And where we assume there's a lack of confidence, there's actually this deep, grounded emotional security. So if it's not a lack of confidence, then what in the world is it? Let's dig into the internal mindset here, the engine that's really driving this choice to stay quiet online. Because it's all rooted in a very specific and very powerful kind of confidence. It really boils down to these four key pillars. Number one, and this is the big one, they just don't need external validation. Their sense of self-worth isn't tied to the number of likes or comments they get. This is backed up by a really strong self-awareness. They know who they are without needing an online audience to tell them. And that in turn leads to a secure self-esteem that doesn't need constant attention to feel real. It's all fueled by a preference for deep, introspective thinking over just performing for a crowd. And all of this comes down to a really important psychological concept, an internal locus of evaluation. It's a fancy term, but the idea is simple. It means their scorecard for life, it's internal. They judge themselves by their own standards, their own values, not by the digital applause they get from everybody else. Their validation truly comes from within. Think about it this way, and this is so key. This isn't about fear. It's not that they're afraid of being judged or criticized. It's about maturity. It's a conscious evolution, moving past that need for constant public approval. They've simply outgrown it. So this confidence, it all builds into a very active, very conscious choice. Choosing to be silent online isn't something that just happens to them. It's a strategic decision to prioritize their inner peace over the exhausting marathon of digital performance. Just look at this trade-off. On one side, you've got the constant chase for performance, the endless updates, the hunt for digital applaud, the nonstop crafting of an online identity to prove you're worthy. And on the other side, you have what they choose instead: privacy, inner calm, and a focus on authentic, real-world connections. They are intentionally trading all of that attention for peace. So why would they make that trade? Well, it's because they intuitively get something called social comparison theory. They just recognize that social media is basically a collection of everyone else's highlight reels. And constantly measuring your everyday life against someone's perfectly curated best moments, well, that's just a recipe for anxiety. And that's the bottom line, really. They see the digital illusion for exactly what it is, a performance, not reality. So by choosing to stay low-key, they're making an active, super smart choice to protect their own mental and emotional well-being from that endless and frankly exhausting comparison game. But, it's not just about avoiding all the negative stuff. There's a real power, a deeper sense of meaning that's found in choosing to be unseen. It's about what you gain, not just what you're avoiding. So what's the payoff? First, they understand that silence isn't an absence of something. It's a space for mastery. They also protect what psychologists call psychological ownership over their own lives, and we'll get to that in just a second. This means they refuse to shrink these rich, complex human experiences into a simple online highlight. For them, identity is something to be formed in private, not performed for an audience. And that lets them build real, deep relationships that don't need a digital receipt to feel valid. And this idea of psychological ownership is just so important. Think of it like this. When an experience is yours and yours alone, it's sacred, right? The moment you post it, it kind of becomes shared property. It's open to judgment, to misinterpretation, to likes. By keeping those moments private, they keep them pure, they keep them powerful, they keep them untouchable. So let's just reframe this whole conversation. This isn't about the fear of missing out or FOMO. For them, silence is where the mastery happens. While other people are busy documenting and posting and curating, they're busy living, they're building, they're creating. They aren't falling behind. In many ways, they're so much further ahead because they're actually in it, not just narrating. It really all comes down to this one fundamental truth. Real meaning doesn't need witnesses. The moments that truly shape you, your growth, your joy, your private little victories, they exist and they matter, whether or not a single other person ever sees them online. So the crucial takeaway here is that being unseen is not the same as being insignificant. In fact, it's often the opposite. That quiet, unposted, unfiltered space, that's where your true self actually has the room to breathe and grow and become solid. It's where your identity is truly formed, not just performed. And all of this leaves us with one final question to think about. When was the last time you experienced something beautiful, or you achieved something you were really proud of, or you just felt a moment of pure joy, and you didn't feel that little twitch, that urge to post it? When was the last time a moment was truly, completely just for you?